What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the pilot episode of the Wok and Talk Podcast. I am Ryan, of course, everyone knows that, and I'm joined by the one and only man himself, Chris. How's it going today?
Hello. Hello. We're finally here. After months of planning and preparation.
Months? I don't know about months.
You know, it was a couple hours. I think it was one phone call. We said, let's do it.
Yeah.
Now we're here. That's good.
Here we are indeed. And, I think I'll kind of give you a little bit of chance to open up the floor and explain kind of the thought process behind what we're going to be doing.
Sure. So, I would say in this podcast, we'll talk about a ton of random things. We'll have some fun. We'll be talking about just, I guess, life. What life is like for us, certain experiences we've had, what's made us us. And talking through, I don't know, just sharing our knowledge and our humor with the world, sharing our personalities with the viewers and anyone that'll listen. Because
someone's got to listen, right? Someone's got to listen.
It's been a fun life so far, and so I think there's something for people to hear. So
there you go, yeah. And so I think first off, I think best we just kind of go through a little introduction, like what we're doing right now. So currently I am in Wichita, Kansas. So I made the move to start my job. So I got a whole profession going on over here. Been here about 2 weeks. So still trying to get acclimated to the new environment. Obviously a lot different coming from Los Angeles. Working at a pretty cool company. Hopefully, going to be able to spread some of that information and just overall, stories, I guess, that I and we come across on a daily basis.
Yeah. So I am also, in my career, I would say, I work in mental health currently in LA area. I graduated college a couple years ago and I've been working with that company for a little over 2 years. It's a mental health residential, so I get to obviously hear stories every day, which is a blessing and definitely something I've learned a lot from, and something that I hope to bring to the pod is the stories that people tell me, the conversations that I've had with people of all ages, older than me, younger than me, clients, friends, coworkers, everything like that. Like I said, just sharing stories and kind of, I guess in a way, introducing people by sharing their story and how I heard it and what it meant to me and everything like that. But yeah, and then I guess an introduction for us. So obviously we've known each other pretty much our whole lives. We started at the same elementary school in LA in the San Fernando Valley. Also went to the same high school together, and yeah, how did we get close? What did we do?
Apparently, this is the story that I hear from my parents, is that the first meal that we went out to together, as our families, your dad said that it was my mom's birthday. And so they brought out the whole everyone came out and sang, and the place that we were at put a hat, it's like Musashi or something. So they had the hat and all the garb. And so that's the story that I always hear, and that she'll never,
forget
that moment.
Yeah,
so I don't know. I mean, that's
a kickstart. That's a way to start right there.
Yeah, that's the kickstart. So if anyone wants to kind of make it good or make an impression, I don't know if it's good or bad. It depends on the person, I guess.
If you want to bond your families.
Yeah, definitely. Just say it's someone's birthday. We actually did that in Orlando. So a context for the story is that I run a high school esports program as well, and we went to Florida for our national championships last year. We went to this relatively fancy restaurant, and we said that it was one of the kids' birthdays, even though it completely wasn't. So everyone was filming on their phone, and then all the waiters come out and sparklers and all this crazy stuff for this kid whose birthday it isn't. And he's super shy and closed off. So it was such a traumatizing experience for him, but for everyone else, it was pretty awesome. So I don't know.
Did he handle it well?
He did. He handled it well. He was like clapping along and stuff, but you could see he died inside when it actually did happen.
No, that's old trusty right there. I feel like most occasions where I'm out with like friends and stuff if it's a dinner, that's happening to someone. We did that. We also did that to my uncle, my Simi Valley bald uncle at a Mexican restaurant. He had the sombrero and the maracas, and that
There
was a
you
good one.
go. Well, I mean, that's the way to do it. I think if you're gonna do it, if you wanna make that impression, you wanna sort of tell someone that you're down to
Yeah,
clown. That's the
yeah.
that's the way to do it for sure.
No, definitely. And then from there, yeah. So just going to the same school, always having fun. We did a few sports together, but um, baseball was our main thing, I guess, right? That was the one that we played on the same team for. Football, we played against each other, and I think those were our two
I
sports.
Yeah, I always flattened you in football.
Well, that
So
that might be its own story time is football sports.
yeah,
Being maybe that's it. Maybe that's a good topic.
we'll
We'll
have
put
to
that on the
we'll have to get into sports at some point, but
sports. Just growing up playing sports, what role sports has in someone's development and just like personality. Because I would say I get along with athletes better than people who haven't played sports before. That's a good one.
why?
Well, without getting too crazy, I would say the exposure you have to not adversity, but like challenges, like for example, suicides, like running suicides. That's like its own mental battle. And I think just training, competing, like I'm a very competitive person, and so if there's someone who like I try and open up even a small competition, and they're like, oh, like I don't do that. It's just kind of a weird vibe, because it limits how much you can like talk smack with them and banter and how close you can get with them. That's my short version. 'Cause I think it's just a mentality. Also, I feel like they're down to do less, like hikes and if they're a non-athletic person.
No shaming, of course. No shaming.
Well, no,
Respectfully.
just disagreeing.
Yeah. All
I'm just, I,
observations
I do
here.
think everyone. Yeah, yeah, right. Sure, sure. That's another great topic is observation versus judgment.
Yeah. We'll that's something for a later date here. We're just kind of starting it off with a little, introductory action happening. Um, Competition makes everything more fun, of course.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like it just makes you want to win that much more, and then it makes that win so much more impactful. Like, oh yeah, dude, you got cooked. Like I owned you. So I feel that. I think
Bragging
just
rights, yeah.
yeah, bragging rights, especially like among friends or family or whatever. It always makes things interesting. Um, yeah, how have the past couple weeks been for you?
For me, man, a lot of change. Um,
Change is good.
change. So like I said, I've been with the same company for 2 years, but I just changed jobs about a month ago actually. To now I'm still in mental health, but I'm a teacher now in the residential. So essentially, I'm teaching the youth. I'm growing the minds
Yikes.
of the young people.
And that's why our future generations are doomed, eh? I got this guy teaching
That's
them.
that's why it's looking scarce. No, not an actual teacher. I don't do lesson plans and stuff. I just do. I manage their like academics while they're in residential. But that's probably the biggest change, just because stepping away from you know my path to being a therapist, I think was a big decision for me. But yeah, so that, and then alongside I'm doing music pretty much just as much or more than that job, and so that's 20 to 30 hours a week. So that's been awesome, and then just going out more on weekends and trying to create the memories. Um, that's been my life, is just kind of having fun, appreciating, trying to be present. But you had the big move, so tell us about your
Yeah,
June, July.
it's been quite interesting. I didn't realize how much like upfront expenses moving actually is. I've been living off credit cards for like a month or two. Um, I had to get new credit cards even just to like kind of like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy this. I'll pay it later. Like it's fine, no problem.
Right. You get cash back and bonuses though.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's been pretty cool. This is my first time living alone, so I got my own apartment,
Right.
which is pretty nice. Bought a car, which is also a pretty big, sort of purchase and milestone. Unfortunately, I have already messed up my car, which which is a bit which is
Oh
unlucky,
man.
unlucky. But okay, yeah, I'll get into that. I'll get into that one later. But yeah, so it's been cool. I mean, for some reason, ever since I've been here, it's been over. It's like been like 105 every day. So it's been brutal. The heat.
Yeah, I feel like it's a tough time to make that move.
Everyone I always talk to is like it's never been this hot before. I don't know why like this is happening now. So
The world heat wave.
yeah, I guess so. Normally when I go to places like the hydro comes, but this time it's been the opposite. So you know, new
You haven't had
change.
any thunderstorms yet?
It actually rained today, which is the first time
There
it's
you
like
go.
yeah, it's rained in this
There you go.
area. So they yeah, I mean, I'm here now. So that there's that. Started working my new job, first like real job out of college. So it's been interesting. I'm doing software engineering. At least that's what my title is. But I have not done any software at all. I've been only doing electrical engineering. So feeling a little bit of the imposter syndrome right now is every time I talk with someone, I just have no idea what they're saying. So that's also pretty
That's
interesting.
fun. Get thrown in there.
Yeah, well, I'm with the wolves right now. I'm fighting for my life. So eh, hopefully I'll figure it out. I mean, I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. But yeah, so I'll be here for 1 year in Wichita. Then I'll move somewhere else for a year. And I'm kind of jumping around a bit just to try out some new things, work on different projects, and see kind of what I like the best. This project is we're making an electric VTOL, which is um, like an
So cool, bro.
aircraft that can land and take off like a helicopter, but it the propellers shift down and can actually fly straight as well like a plane. So it is a pretty cool project, very intensive.
For
We'll
the
see.
non mechanical people, it's a score streak in Call of Duty.
Yeah, if you've ever played COD, you can get a VTOL warship, and that's basically what I'm building, except
Game
it's
over.
fully electric, no fuel at all. So pretty
Awesome.
interesting, pretty cool design, and it's like one of the next big things that's coming up right now. So get to have my hand in that. Uh, be cool.
Company sells to the government as well.
Yeah,
So that's also really cool. I'm excited for you to get to the testing phase of things. As I feel like you'll get some really cool stories, and hopefully
yeah,
it fly, hopefully
probably.
it stays in the air.
I mean, it's like this is like a multi-billion-dollar project. Like we were talking about like just some certain tests and they're like, "Yeah, we're probably going to need like over $1 million of wire." And I'm just like, "Oh my
That's
lord."
sorry. That's awesome to work within like a budget like that though.
Yeah, it's
Because
pretty
mine
yeah.
like even like my smaller like way smaller scale version of that is like because the job I'm in now or the company I work for now is the first like corporation I worked for on obviously a corporate budget and it's like like it's cool to see like such a big operation I think and so luckily you get to be on the creative side of things and yeah just spending other people's money is cool.
When yeah, I mean when you get a part list for testing, that's like for,
Yeah.
that's quarter of a million or $500,000 for like 3 tests. It's like it kind of puts it in perspective like, "Whoa, man, this is like really
Yeah.
ridiculous what we're doing right now." But
Because
yeah, it's
they
pretty
invest.
cool.
I'm not sure what the financial um like budgeting and game plan I guess is for that, but I'm sure because they spend probably what a couple billion or billion at least
Probably.
on a
Probably.
project, but then like making something new, especially like that, like the amount of money they make back on it is
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
crazy.
it's basically just a race to see which company can do it first is
Yeah,
kind of what's happening. So,
yeah. No, that's awesome.
It
That's
is. It is
exciting.
awesome. Yeah.
It's
So
exciting for sure.
that's that. I think what do you want to go next? Because
We can talk about like growing up. Like
okay,
I would say maybe I mean we could start at college or we could start after college. I think college is a big step. So I think maybe we'll start what how was the I guess just the whole process like the application. Obviously back I don't think they require the SAT ACT anymore, but for us that was part of it. Um but you know, doing all the testing, the applying, looking for schools, talking to schools, deciding you were going to major in, like all that. What was even housing and stuff, like going out of state for you, and then for me it was how essentially yeah moving out in general for a lot of people. How was that for you?
I was really, I was totally fine with it. I think I kind of wanted something new anyway. I mean, so for context, I went to Ohio State. So basically moved across the country to go to college, studied computer engineering. Definitely went through a fair share of struggles. Just being in a new place. College is like a lot different than high school. I don't know. I mean, I think from what I've heard, a lot of people have that same kind of sentiment. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, I think it kind of gave me an opportunity to start fresh. I don't mind like moving to new places and living there. I mean, that's what I just did 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah,
it's kind of become like a normal thing to kind of bounce around and start clean slate. And I mean, personally, I think everyone should do it at least once just to kind of get that experience away, like gain that independence. Um, and it's just like get a new vibe, it's like it's a new
yeah,
perspective on life, really. So that's what I think. Um, what about you?
yeah. So for me, I remember specifically the one of the conversations that came up was kind of the you know like go small JC and then go to a big school after. Um, and I think that's that to your point. One of the best things for me about going at 18 was, or just out of high school, I guess, um, was yeah, just all that change and just it's such a concept to just like you know like everyone at 18, like not everyone, but most people at 18, everyone that goes to college or like moves away to college, going out, living with a ton of people, even if you're not directly living with them, being around people your age like at all times. It's like you and then like professors. It's the youth and then you know anyone that works there. And I think that's such a for me it was awesome because I think you know I just really hadn't done that because like you said obviously we went to a smaller high school and so
And middle school.
and middle school yeah and so that's something that didn't I and my college was also a lot smaller than yours so but and with that I still like it was still so many people and so that's something that yeah we had I think we had different starts um to our college experience. But yeah, I don't know. For me, it was. I remember in the decision making process, it was first of all, you know, do I want to go away for college? I originally wanted to go to TCU in Texas, um, and for you know a few different reasons, I ended up staying closer to home. Still moved out though. Um, yeah, I don't know. I loved it. I felt. I still feel, and I tell people, I tell you know my clients this a lot is that it's still such a great like it's such a cool thing to be able to go there and essentially like reinvent yourself. It's a fresh start at like, you know, no one knows you in high school. And so essentially everything you've learned in high school, everything that you know, the person you want to be essentially, you have a fresh start to like make that happen. And I think that's such a kind of like you said, you know, I think moving out of state elevates that. But but yeah, just having that chance to start over, especially depending on how people's high school went, like is such a amazing opportunity. And so I really took advantage of that. Um, my first semester was very fun, is the light way to put it. But yeah, just meeting people, getting to know a lot of friends, and that's how I guess started, and then yeah, I mean we can talk about the academic stuff if you want, but that was the part that I think was more important to me in like
Yeah,
my personality.
I it's just funny because our experiences were so different. Like
Yeah,
your first semester you really liked. My first semester was my first whole year was terrible. I just got
yeah.
abused in, in my classes. Like I was getting destroyed. And it was not fun at all. I was ready. I'm done. I was like, I'm
There
done
was a
here.
scandal. There was a cheating scandal. This man is
But
a man is
I'm a
wanted.
survivor. I'm a survivor.
I'm a survivor. That's funny.
But it was messed up, man. It was messed up. So and like you mentioned, I mean, I went to a school with 60,000 kids, so
Yeah,
it's like a completely different experience. And I lived with 9 other people my freshman year in like a suite, so
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
different. I mean, what you had one roommate, right?
I had so the way my dorm worked was Jack and Jill style. So one direct roommate and then two more on another side, and we all four of us shared a bathroom.
Okay, yeah.
So
So
yeah, no, I definitely it was definitely weird for me to hear that you were here, and I mean, it's a house. That's a
it was
that's a whole
yeah,
house.
it was basically like a house, I guess. But I mean, at least in that sense, like you make friends right away.
Yeah,
Like it's kind of like
yeah.
built-in friends. You know, some of them are misses. I'm not gonna lie. Most of them are misses.
Misses not females, but like off the
Misses,
mark.
like yeah,
Like yeah.
like not hits.
Those are
I
the fun.
only
Those are the stories, though. And I
Oh
yeah,
man,
those
there's
are the
yeah.
stories.
Maybe we'll talk about that next one. Just like
Yeah,
different college stories because man, I had a cast of characters that lived with me to say the least. Um, but yeah, I'll just like all good memories and at least like I was saying before, we get a chance to like built in meet 8 9 people that you know you're probably gonna interact with the most. So at least you
yeah.
don't go in feeling completely like lost.
Isolated and all. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think that'd be such a cool. That might be a great thing to kind of talk about, and we could break it up into high school and college. It might be its own thing, but talking about, I feel like I kind of just realized in high school you start it right, and then you just kind of have your graph of how did high school go, and then I think similarly in college you had that where it's like how do you start, how do you recover on things you need to recover, how do you start with friends because I also remember one of the reasons it was fun, but also one of the reasons it kind of set unrealistic expectations was that for me that first semester was so like overstimulating as far as just the amount of like the volume of people I was meeting, like all the introduction ceremonies. I don't know how much you had, but for us because it's a small school, like the entire class was there. Like at the they call it like battle of the houses or something. Essentially dorms competed in different games. Like you're meeting so many people and then also you have your classes. And then also it's college, so you're like, oh, so and so, like like you start looking for at girls now, and you're like, oh, she's cute, she's she could be a friend, she could I have that class with her, maybe she'll be fun to study with, and it's just there's so many options. I think it's I don't know, it's just it's a wild concept. Whoever thought of that, shout out them and
Yeah,
their family.
I did I did not have any of that really. You have to also, I mean, my freshman class was like 12,000. So
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
little bit much to sort of, like schedule something and coordinate something like that, but the only like I don't even I don't even remember. I didn't really meet people other than like people in my on my floor who were like part of my scholars program.
your
And
dorm
like
had something, right?
uh I mean like my floor was like 60 people.
Hmm.
So and my floor and the floor above me were all part of my scholars program. So most
Oh,
of like the
nice.
interactions I had were like people in my scholars program because like those are the people that I'm interacting with like for the events and like stuff that we have to go to for that. So most of my interactions were with with like scholars program people, and then I met a few people in like classes and stuff, but it's harder to like kind of grow relationships with people in like 400 or 500 person lecture halls.
Yeah. Yeah, which is another thing too, because you mentioned obviously your cheating scandal.
Dude, that
Um,
was garbage.
just kind of our classes too. I mean, like our lecture, like my lecture, like we have, I think two, like maybe two or three lecture halls, and on our campus, and so and yours was like only lecture halls for the most part, from what I've heard. And even our lecture class was still like 50 people, and so it's so it's cool that we had that kind of different experience as well, because it was like you said, it's so hard to meet people, even your professor. Like how does your professor remember your face in a crowd?
Yeah, I mean, they don't really. Like in all of the like first level classes, especially in engineering, are like weed out classes. So like you're getting just wrecked. Like they send 400 people in, and it's like survival of the fittest. Basically, it's like the Hunger
The
Games
Hunger
out
Games.
there. Yeah, like you're just trying to fight and survive. And like if you can, like if you were to go to like try and talk to your professor during office hours or whatever, that's like 20 people there, like also trying to do the same thing. So it was hard. Like you can't really, you have to kind of fend for your own, and that's a lot of like what the first like year or two is in engineering. At least at a big school. I don't know about like for your school.
No, yeah, that's once again to me just so it's so cool to see that, because there, I mean, there's that in classes. Um, actually, before I move on to that, so being in a, because you were STEM, right?
Yeah.
So the STEM program, because I know how it was at my school, was good, but it wasn't as like nearly as intensive as what I heard from you. And so kind of like that weeding process. What do you talk about it?
I
Besides
mean,
surviving, I mean, what
yeah.
was it for you?
I mean, that's kind of where you if you're gonna make your friends and the like that's where you do it
Yeah,
because you're all like just kind of united under the same front of like let's try to survive this.
yeah. You're in it for
And
4 years.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So once we if we can get through this one, then we'll be good. And then the next one comes and it's like, all right, if we can get through this one, and then it never stops. Um which is unfortunate. But yeah, you kind of like bond in your struggles almost.
Yeah,
And it makes the classes a lot easier like to meet people like that just because it's like, oh well, we can do our homework together, or like I can ask you like if I don't understand something, maybe you do, and if you
yeah,
don't, then no man, it's cooked. But at least you have like a second opinion on it. um
yeah,
but a lot of, yeah, a lot of those like big lecture classes, it's like you're on your own, the professor only like lectures and that's it. um
hmm
and you have to, it's like a big learning experience, like you have to kind of, you have to start getting yourself in that college like mindset and be like, oh, I'm
yeah,
not, I guess this isn't high school anymore, I have to like actually study.
yeah, yeah. Which is, yeah, dang. I'm happy we're having this conversation. I'm grabbing a notepad to write some of this down, because there are some good topics coming up. Because you mentioned like bonding over like struggle. Sounds a little dramatic, but that's how, I mean, that's how it was for your program, was what it sounds like. Um, and then also trying in school, because I think that's something that for a lot of people, like there's school people and then there's not school people. Um, is I think something really cool to get into as well, because as we talk about, which might be its, its own topic, but talking about like the education, just the structure of it, um, things like that, things that are really good. For example, you want, especially the higher stakes your job is, you want your schooling to be more intensive, because you don't obviously like
Yeah.
training in the military, or like, you know the police force and stuff like that. It can't be shocking when you start the career, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so even getting that exposure to like a ton of work early on, like, because I'm sure that played a part in, if you didn't have that, starting this job might be like way more daunting and way more stressful essentially for you. Um, and so I think, yeah, I think that's a few good topics to bring up eventually. Because I know high school is its own thing as well. For some people, they coast through high school. Other people, it's like high school academics. For example, from where we're from, there's a school in the valley that actually it's a charter school that makes kids sign like a waiver essentially. Um, it's a release of liability as far as suicide if they take more than I think one or two AP classes. Because they have a history of kids like committing suicide from stress from school. And so I think that's such a loaded topic as far as what do you do with that?
But
Um,
I will say, all the people that I know that went to that school, they crush.
yeah. No, yeah.
So maybe they're onto
Yeah, it's
something.
a
I don't
great school,
know.
and
I
yeah,
mean,
and yeah. And that's the thing too, because then you consider private versus public. Because I think, from what I heard, it wasn't that the school. I want to say it wasn't that the school gave an insane amount of homework or the teachers were super mean to the kids or anything. I want to say it was the support and expectation that they had behind that, whether it's from the family or just like as a student in that part of the valley, maybe. That I think that was the part that got to him more, I guess, because for us it was always I don't know about you, but I know for me, college was always an expectation. Graduating was always an expectation. Um, Passing classes was never it was never like, am I gonna pass or not? That's just in the way that I was raised, and so I know when I went into AP classes and just higher intensive classes, it wasn't like that never even came across my mind as far as like I mean giving up, but then to the extent of outside of school as well, like it was never a thing that like to me it was like that's just how you do it. I guess that's just what it is. And so I can imagine someone who's rising to the challenge of AP or even for some people like honors, um, there's a little bit of like a shock value there that I think I know I didn't have personally because to me it was expected. And so I
yeah,
think that's part of it for that school.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I kind of felt the same way. Like, I know people who like whose parents would like reward them for like doing well, like getting A's and stuff. And like that's such a foreign concept to me because when I grew up, it's always like, oh, we like if you don't get an A, like, you know, that's
You
bad.
get something
Like,
taken away.
yeah, yeah,
When you get an A,
exactly.
it's like all right, cool, next one.
It's like, oh, you did what you were supposed to do. Nice. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you can eat tonight.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's so
You can have the bed tonight.
yeah, you get a roof. You don't have to sleep outside. But it's such a foreign like thing and it's so weird because, I was involved with someone who that happened to, and
Yeah,
it's just it really like you can tell the difference in mindset of like people who were I guess treated like that versus people who aren't.
which comes back to our athlete thing as well. I think for
Yeah, yeah.
me, I gained such a competitive mindset. I mean, it was throughout high school. It was about like 2016, 2017. So once again, a little context for the story. I used to play competitive paintball, actually, believe it or not. Um, that was my first. That was the furthest I've ever kind of gone in a sport. Um, because I played it at a like semi-professional level, and I would put that above my college athletics, I think. And the coach I had was crazy intensive. Like I'm saying, like NFL level coach, but also because it was such a small sport, there's not really regulations as far as coaching styles. So he would get super physical and you know he was known for throwing clipboards or giving you a nice little love tap on the head with his fist if you messed up in a certain way. And I think that to be honest, to be in a non-dramatic way, that being on that team changed my life because he would say certain things as far as mentality goes. For example, I literally just wrote it down. He used to harp on us so bad because we used to not just as a team, we would get really worn down because he never gave us like kudos or never said, "Oh, like good job," because he carried the mindset that why should I reward someone for doing their job?
Yeah.
Which is the next thing I'm writing is expectation versus like request, right? Or versus like superseding, or what's the word for it? Essentially going above and beyond, right? Um, where I took that when I learned that lesson, like that day was a very it life altering or mindset altering um, thing to tell like a teenager essentially, because it does make you question like, well, what am I? Because when people go into certain things, or they hold a door for someone, or they donate to charity, or they do something good, it's kind of about, are they expecting a kudos for that, or getting A's, or like where is your standard essentially, and what is the line between doing more than you're asked and then meeting the line to where you're just asked, right? And I think that's a super interesting one.
Yeah, and that's not to say that people who don't get A's are any, like
Right,
any worse. Like obviously it's different for everyone, but like
right, right.
just in our cases, like
Where I mean, wherever
we're a
the line is.
student, yeah, wherever the line is, like you're students, growing up, you're a student, that's your job, like
Yeah,
you need to do well, basically.
yeah. Because I
And
think
yeah,
that standard is something that applies to like many different assets of life. Because I've also talked about it in terms of like jobs, because you can take um a kid who grew up in whatever, for the sake of the stereotype, Beverly Hills, right? Off of parents' money, who, as far as assets go, you might say that they have, well, obviously they do. They have more assets than a lower income family, right? And so, but then you take the what that lower income family is doing as far as to make ends meet, whether it's a parent who's working 3 jobs and only sleeps 4 hours, and then another parent who is fully in charge of the kids, has a whole family, raising the kids, making sure they're doing well in school. As far as like output, you have one that is way closer to their max output than another person who is, in one hand though, you have like, oh, more assets or more success or a better setup or whatever, right? And that's something that I think is another very cool kind of contrast in the world, is kind of max output. Um, just when you say certain things like that, not to say that certain people that get A's and stuff, like there's people that can earn a B, and that B is way more earned than another person's A, right? Or a C, or
yeah,
someone who passed the class is way more happy and earned that pass way more than another person earned an A. And I will give kudos to that person that passed the class like 10 times out of 10 more than I will give it to the other person. Um,
for sure.
which is such an interesting contrast, right? Because it's, I don't know. I'm intrigued by stuff like that.
Objectively, it's worse, but in each
Yeah.
situation, like one was way more earned than the other.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So I agree. Yeah, I mean, everyone is different. Like we're just kind of giving our perspectives on things, and
Yeah.
like how we were our experiences and like how that stuff kind of came to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and college is interesting, man. It's something.
College is a good one. Um, but yeah, I think, I don't know if you've been writing stuff down, but we got a lot of good topics out of this too to kind of talk about in the future. Because I think, I don't know, it's cool. It's cool that we had different experiences as well, because I think we get to contrast them. Um, as far as college goes, and we have different sides of how high school went for us as well. So it's a good place to start. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know this one was we were kind of just like figuring out what's happening. Obviously the pilot's always pretty rough, but
Unless it's an
it
electric VTOL.
well, yeah, maybe. We'll see. Well, we're not there yet. We'll see. But if you guys did get this far, thank you so much. I hope
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope you got some sort of entertainment out of it. Obviously they will get better as they as we move forward.
We get
And
better. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
we get better. So Other than that, thank you guys for chilling out, hanging out, listen to us ramble for a bit. You got any final things you want to say before we
No, I
close it
think
out?
you said it. I'll just reiterate that we're putting the feelers out. We're learning our language. We're learning our topics. But yeah, if you did get this far, shout out you, and I'll give you $1 or something. But
Yeah, we're getting towards the time that I can actually listen to Chris's voice without going crazy. So we're almost at that threshold. So
almost
I
at the max output.
you and me together strong. Apes together strong, like they say in Planet of the Apes. So thank you guys. We will see you next time,
See you
I
next
guess.
week. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, next week.
All right.
Peace.